Okay, it is 6:05 on September 1st. We're going to go ahead and get started. I appreciate everyone who has jumped on. This meeting is going to be recorded, so it can be posted on social media as well for anyone who wasn't able to attend tonight, so that they can see what's being planned for the property on Pleasant Hill Road, right off of Island View Court. So with that, I'll recognize that we have Mr. Matthew Wilkinson from the Metro Council Planning Liaison, who can help answer any planning related questions that might come up or any explanations that are needed. We have Mr. Rory Dale of Dale Associates, who is the engineer of this project. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him and let him go ahead and talk through his proposal. This proposal is going off of the current zoning of the property. So that means that nothing will come before council, that this development is being done by right. So the fact that Mr. Dale is willing to talk to the community and allow the community to have some input is, in my opinion, going above and beyond what he is required to do. So I really appreciate that, Mr. Dale. And with that, I will go ahead and make you a co-host so that you can share any screens or documents that you have.
All right, let me try this. I hope I'm successful. Oh, Lord. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So I appreciate it, council member. I know that this is a Barite subdivision, but I mean, I love to have community meetings. I love to have input from the community. Many times there are things that you can do that that help people, may help my client, may help your community, and I find that happens quite often. And so this is the beginning of a process. This is a piece of property. It's about 9 acres, and we submitted to the Planning Commission. I'll show you where the property is. So here we are. So this is Pleasant Hill Road, and this is the subdivision that it abuts. Russ, I'm not sure what the name of that subdivision is, but it abuts a dead-end cul-de-sac called Island View Court. And so this property has a point of access there. It also has a point of access on Pleasant Hill Road. Again, it's zoned R15. It's 8.96 acres. And so there's a provision in the Metro zoning ordinance that allows you to develop properties into a manner called a cluster subdivision. Most, if not all, subdivisions right now are done as clusters because Metro stormwater requirements for, you have to have some open space, you have to have stormwater areas, and those usually or almost all the time have to be outside of lots themselves. And so when you're developing a piece of property and knowing that you're going to have these important features, you will utilize the cluster option because you can create lots and you can also create open space. And so what the cluster provision allows you to do, it allows you to make lots smaller. You cannot increase the number of lots, but lots can be actually smaller. So an R15 zoning, if I go too fast, you stop me at any time, Russ, okay? So an R15 zoning means residential 15,000 square foot lots. The R designation also allows you to build 2 houses on a single lot. It does not allow you to do that on every lot. It allows you to only do that on 25% of the lots. I think the subdivision that we're abutting was done as an old zone lot division years ago, where you could actually have 4 houses on one lot or 2 houses on one lot, and the lot line went right to the middle of the houses. So that's quite unusual itself. Metro does not allow us to do that anymore. So on any cluster lot subdivision, you're allowed to reduce your lot size by 2 zoning categories. And so under the R15 zoning, the next category below that is R10. And then I believe the next category below that is R8. So you're allowed to do lots on this subdivision as small as 8,000 square feet. They can be larger, but if you do lots as small as 8,000 feet, you generally have to provide some kind of a buffer between the proposed lots and the existing lots around you. So, this is the property. It's a very irregular shaped piece of property. Utilities for this property are on Island View Court. It's a sanitary sewer there. There's a water line there. And so those utilities would, fall in that direction. This abuts an RM9 zoning, which I guess is a townhouse development to its east. There's a church to the south. There's another subdivision to the west, which are it's smaller lots. These lots are generally about, says RS 7.5, but they're done as a cluster as well. So some of those lots might be less than 5,000 square feet. So the number of lots that are allowed within a clustered subdivision is done by a formula. You'll take the area in acres, you'll convert the acres to square feet. 1 acre is 43,560 square feet. So you'll multiply the total area by 43,560. You'll take a percentage of that, 85%, and then you divide it by the base zoning, which in this case is 15,000. And when you do that, you're allowed to have 22 lots. So I did a plan that basically divides this property into 22 lots. And more or less, this is what it looks like. There was a reserve parcel at the end of this street that my client owns. So we're going to access Island View Court. Before we did a plan on this at all, there was a sit down with planning, just to see that they were generally okay with what we were proposing. And they said that we were. And so, this is the step. We have submitted this plan to the Planning Commission for review. They're in that review process right now. So this road off of Island View Court comes in. This property is split down the center with sort of a hammerhead at the end. You could put a big round circular turnaround there, or you could, Metro requires from a fire marshal perspective, or you can actually do it like what's called a hammerhead, as long as this distance is not more than 150 feet. And it actually allows you to lay the property out a lot better by not having the big circles in there. So they're really nice rectangular parcels. So you can have 22 lots. Under the R zoning, 25% of those lots can be lots that you put 2 houses on, but those lots have to be full size lots of 15,000 square feet. So you'll see that here's a larger lot. Lot 18 is a larger lot. Lot 22 is a larger lot. Lot 8 and lot 9 and lot 10 are all larger lots. You could put 2 houses on each of these lots. The lots that are narrower and they're 50 feet wide would have 1 house each. So that gives you the ability to have 22 lots with 5 of those lots having 2 houses. So that'd be 27 total units. There's open space required. We put it in the front. We'll have to have a stormwater area. Almost every project that I'm involved in, stormwater is a very big concern. People with all the infill development in Nashville and the fact that sewer systems downstream are not really adequately designed to handle increases in runoff. So we provide places within our site to capture the water. A lot of it we're required to get a lot of it back into the ground. The new regulation Metro has. The first inch or first inch and a half can't leave the site. And then this water has to be held back, and it has to be, and can be slowly released at no greater rate than it was released before. And in a lot of instances, the stormwater features within a development can actually reduce the runoff, downstream. So this has been submitted to the Planning Commission. They came back with a set of revisions. One was there's a little piece of the property that has a 25% slope. Slopes of 25% cannot be contained within a lot, so that we made sure that that area was not in a lot. Everything else on the site's fairly flat. There's a stormwater area to the east, and of course, a stormwater area to the north. All the utilities are going to connect to Island View, and I think that's just about it. So I can take some questions if you have them, and then we can talk some more about any concerns or any maybe even alternatives, perhaps.
So, there was a question that came up of Facebook when I first put this information out. There's a lot of concerns with residents in the area about blasting that's been going on at Heron Point and other areas. So the question was, will this development require any blasting?
That's going to be based upon the soil types. I have a little bit of knowledge about this area over there by the lake. I'm not sure that you've run into a lot of rock at a shallow depth, but generally speaking, water lines are put very shallow. They're only 36 inches or 30 inches deep. Sewer lines can get deeper than that. they have to be a minimum of 4 feet deep. This property may start to buck grade a little bit, so there may be some filling on this site. I don't anticipate there would be much blasting, but there could be. There could be blasting with utility lines, and that is sort of monitored and governed by the Metro Codes Department and the Fire Marshal. And so contractors are supposed to monitor their blasting and ensure or protect the neighbors are not damaged. But I don't want to mislead anybody. I guess there could be blasting here. Probably not much, but there could possibly be some.
And one question I have with the open space that connects to Pleasant Hill Road, was there a reason why that area wasn't looked at as being the way into the community and not coming off of the other cul-de-sac? Because I can, there might be some concern with the people who live on that cul-de-sac.
I'm sure there will be. I mean, I looked at a lot of those, and a lot of those probably are rental properties. It doesn't make any difference. There are people that live there. And my client went to the planning commission on the front end to look at more or less that. I think the thought was that if you connect to Pleasant Hill, then you're going to be forced to make that connection to Island View, and then it's going to be a cut through. So it's something that we can certainly talk about. I'm not sure if people would want that connection or not. Planning in their review, although they looked at this before, they came up with the same question again. So it's something that they're considering. There may be some alternative here we can talk about beyond or outside of this subdivision itself. I just want to hear what people's reactions are, I guess. Is there anybody in the meeting that lives on that cul-de-sac?
If there's a local resident on this call, feel free to either unmute or put your questions in the chat. And if you're not on this call and you're watching the recording and you have questions, feel free to shoot me an email, russ.bradford@nashville.gov, and put the subject Pleasant Hill Development, and I'll know what you're referring to, and I can give those questions to Mr. Dale.
Yeah, and they can also call me directly if you want to, Russ. I mean, it's up. Maybe you'd rather them go through you and then you contact me, whatever you want to do it.
I'll let them go through me. That way I'll know what questions are being asked. So that if someone else asks the same question, I know what the answer is.
Perfect. So, we're here to talk about the subdivision of the property. But I mean, I'll notice this. I just sort of feel like that, there may be people on Island View that would have a concern about that. And if they make the connection to Pleasant Hill Road, I know the Metro is going to require this connection to occur all the way through, which could be a worst case scenario. But I talked to my client about this, Russ. He's not asking me to do this at all. Just me trying to be a problem solver, I guess. Potentially, there's a RM9 zoning adjacent to this property. This property could be rezoned to maybe an RM zoning or an SP zoning. So the roads could be private roads and could have access off of Pleasant View and no access at all to the subdivision. That might allow some benefit for him to do something without connecting that could give him a little more density. So
will this be an HOA community?
It would be.
It would be HOA.
Right. I mean, it's a nice plan, and these are all single family, individually owned houses.
Has your client got an idea or concept of the style of the houses? Is there a development that could be referenced as a visual aid for anybody curious what these houses would look like?
Okay, so I asked that question. This developer has not done that much. He's sort of get started. I think he has done a development. I'll get some images to send you, but there would be craftsman style houses. There would be wood and brick. There'll be no vinyl. I don't know if Metro allows us to do vinyl, quite honestly, but and I haven't seen anybody do anything like that. But it would be wood, brick, and hardy plank. I'm sure there would not be any vinyl.
And who is the developer? or the builder?
Well, he has a company, but his name is Bruce Little. That's
Say
one of them.
Little or Whittle?
Little, Little.
And what's his company?
I think it's on the plan. I think he has a couple of different companies. You know, people set up LLCs for individual projects, and this is the LLC that I think they set up for this one. And that is, and it should be on the plan that I sent you. Platinum Investments LLC.
And Roy, can you explain the concept of the two houses on one lot?
Sure.
Would they still be single family? Are they duplexes? How would those be laid out?
So when you have an R zoning and you're allowed a, we'll call it a 2-family lot, you could do a duplex, you could do that, or you could do 2 freestanding buildings. What I've tried to do is to lay this out so there's enough room to do 2 independent detached buildings. That's why the lots are, these particular lots are wider. So if you'll see this 2-family lots next to a 1-family lot, which is 50 feet wide, the 2-family lot's 88 feet wide, but you can get fairly close between buildings. So you should be able to put the same unit on lot 50 and get 2 of them on lot 18, for instance. So if you're at the street, you really can't tell the difference. That is the intention, and that's the way I laid it out. I've been told that they do not want to do a duplex, but I don't know that that can be regulated through a subdivision.
That cannot. And so if you were to, and so essentially in the eyes of Metro, just for terminology's sake, we call all two-family dwellings, whether they're attached or detached. To allow for independent ownership, they would need to set up horizontal property regimes on each lot to do split sales. Otherwise, an owner would own one side, rent the other side, or own one structure, rent the other, without the HPR to enable split sales of the property.
Roy, can you kind of explain briefly the landscape buffer for those who might be watching this later?
Sure. So I'm not sure, the property to the north is zoned R10, but these lots are actually less than 10,000 square feet. The lots 1 through 7 on the north side of this development, here's the size of those. They range from 10,000 square feet. There's as low as 8,600 square feet. So generally, if you have lots that are smaller than lots that are adjacent, Metro is requiring you to put a landscape buffer. This landscape buffer is 20 feet wide. It has a variety of trees and vegetation that's required to be placed there as a transition or a screen between 2 developments. And so that's what a landscape buffer is. They also have the landscape buffer on the south side. You'll notice there is no landscape buffer on the east side, and that's because these are full-size lots. So if you have a full-size lot touching your property line, you're not required to put a buffer. On the west side, this is an RS 7.5 subdivision that already has a large buffer. Metro in their review asked me about putting a buffer there. I sent it back thinking that probably didn't need to have a buffer because of the size of these lots as compared to the size of the lots adjacent. It's easy to put a buffer there. You just make these lots smaller, but I just didn't feel like that was necessary.
And I know that most of this lot is already wooded. Would the current native vegetation be, especially in these buffers, be left alone, or would it all be taken down and new landscaping put in?
You know, it is not designated on this plan. I can look at that, Russ. If there's vegetation there that needs to remain, I think I should just go ahead and indicate it on the plan. Probably better, just to make it more clear, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to remove mature vegetation to replace it with new vegetation. And so that's something that it's a good comment. I like it, and I'll make sure that gets incorporated.
The planning department and stormwater encourages the preservation of mature landscaping where possible.
Yeah, I was just going to add a mature tree soaks up more groundwater than a sapling. So
Yeah.
from a stormwater perspective, it
Right.
would help cut that down.
And I sent, and I sent Russ a copy of the landscape buffers for a type C, 20
Okay.
would be a C3. And so if the existing vegetation isn't dense enough to meet that standard, they would just supplement what's already there with new vegetation to meet that density standard.
Okay. Is there any other questions from anyone on this call that we've not already discussed or? Okay, well,
Hey, Matt,
like I said, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I hope I didn't confuse you, and Matt's here to help us as well. I think what I was trying to say, and quite honestly, my client didn't even ask me this, but when I look at this layout, I think you could do a similar layout with private roads, and you could probably do it off of Pleasant View since it's a private road, and then those connections would not necessarily be required. In order to do that, may cost a little more, but if you did consider rezoning it, he might get a little more density, not much, but it's just an alternative. So if you get a lot of pushback on the people on Island View, I think there might be an alternative that could be looked at. I'm sure my client's going to want to go ahead and proceed on just to get his concept approval since he's already paid for that and he's through the process. But I think there's always a way to go back and look at it if you think we need to. So I hope that helps.
It does. Okay, well, we are approaching 6:30. There's no more questions. Like I said, this meeting will be posted on Facebook. So if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube and you have some questions that were not covered tonight, or that you're confused about something and need clarification, email me, russ.bradford@nashville.gov. And I'll get those questions over to Mr. Dale and see if we can get those answers for you. And I'll post them to this event on Facebook and put them in my newsletter. All right, with that, again, thank you, Mr. Wilkinson, for being here. Thank you, Mr. Dale, for taking time out of your evening to explain this concept. Again, as it stands, this concept does not require council approval. This is going off the currently allowed zoning. So this meeting has been very beneficial and very educational. And I thank everybody for being here. And hope y'all have a happy and safe Labor Day.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.